All right, we are back with another Liberal Dan Radio live stream with the president's press conferences. I'm doing it a little bit late. I started at the beginning, so I'm about maybe 15 minutes or so into it that I caught it, so I'm starting it back from the beginning. So I'm not totally live, but it'll be my reactions to the entire thing. So here we go.
Thank you very much. I'd like to begin by saying we've just closed out another month of stock market. We're the best stock market Dow in 36 years. That's very impressive. So people are very happy with their 401ks.
Stock market is not the end all and be all of the economy.
That they have.
So there's that.
That's a tremendous achievement. Best in 36 years.
It's the best. No one's better.
Let me begin with a brief update on the China
Sugarcoat
virus.
everything.
Over the last month, our new cases in the United States have declined by 38%. Last week, we announced a breakthrough in testing.
You just cut back on
that will allow
testing.
us to have over 150 million rapid point-of-care tests.
The CDC just said
These
only
tests
test
return
certain
results
people,
in
only test
less than 15
symptomatic
minutes,
people, not asymptomatic
and many
people who
will
might
be
have come in
deployed to
contact with
nursing
those
homes. We've
people that
been
test positive.
We're focusing
So you're going to
very
get less
strongly in nursing
tests.
homes,
That's why you're probably
assisted
seeing
living
less
facilities
results.
and other locations that serve high-risk populations. So we're going to have the 15-minute and less tests, and we will have 150 million rapid point-of-care tests. That's something. This evening, I'm pleased to announce that AstraZeneca vaccine has reached phase 3 clinical trials. So that's joining another group of vaccines that are very close to the end. And
This is
hopefully
the
approval.
end.
In the United States, we're
Beautiful
doing things
friend.
that nobody thought
The
would have
end.
been even possible. This is a process that would have taken, in some cases, years, and we did it in a matter of months. Thanks to the efforts of Operation Warp Speed, we remain on track to deliver a vaccine very rapidly in record time. I also want to provide an update on left-wing political violence that we're seeing in Democrat-run cities. Under my administration, federal law enforcement
Democrat-run
is working
cities,
with state
again,
and local
no
authorities
correlation, no
all
causation,
over
just
the country
correlation.
to comb through hours of video, track down rioters, looters, and arsonists, and bring them to justice. We've just come up with a report that we've arrested a large number of people.
Have you arrested the violent
200,
conservatives who are there who are actually causing the
You'll
problems?
be hearing about that, but they've been arrested in various cities throughout the United States. We're doing it very
And
low-key,
with
but
unmarked,
we're
are those
trying
the
to
ones
help
in the
cities.
unmarked
They are,
vans?
in all cases, Democrat-run, but we're doing the best we can to help
What
them without
big cities are
really
Republican
much of a
run?
consent.
How
We'd
many
like
are
to have
there?
The consent, as an example, in Portland, we could solve that problem in approximately 1 hour, but the mayor refuses, perhaps for political reasons. I don't know why it's good for him to have a city that's falling apart and that's under siege now for 94 days. But really, it's been under siege for years, if you know Portland. So
I'm sure.
to the mayor, I say, whenever you're ready, let us know. We'll solve your problem of violence. We'll solve your problem.
Yeah, I'm sure the Donald Trump way of solving the problem of
those
violence is
criminals
going
very
to be
rapidly,
even
and
more violence and
we'll be
arrest
able
lots
to
of
have some
innocent
nice
people in
evenings
the
in
name of freedom,
Portland.
in the name of fighting
The Department of
terrorism.
Homeland
Meanwhile, you
Security
do
and the
nothing
Department of
about
Justice are announcing a joint
conservative
operations
terrorists.
center to investigate the violent left-wing civil unrest. And
like the
again,
group
in
of
Portland
conservatives
alone, the
who
federal
were
government
thanked by the cops in
has already
Kenosha
taken care
for
of
protecting
and
business when they had no
100
reason to. There's no
rioters.
legal authority for them to do so.
Just in
And
that
the video
one
about that I
city,
posted it
the
last night.
wave
This
of
morning.
violence and destruction that we've seen in recent weeks and months has occurred in cities exclusively controlled and dominated by the Joe Biden party.
The Biden-Joe
If
Biden
you
party. What's
take a
that?
look, the top 10
Take a look.
in the country
The
are
Biden-Joe Biden country.
Democrats.
Take a
It's
look.
Democrat-run cities, and it's a shame, and it can be solved so easy.
My cat's trying to
It can be
join
solved
in.
very easily. The
Easily.
violence is fueled by dangerous rhetoric from far-left politicians that demonize our nation and demonize our police.
Well, there are police that
We have
deserve
to
demonization.
allow
There are
our
bad police, and you
Police
won't
to
speak
do
about
what
them.
They're very good at doing. We've taken
They're
that
very good at killing
power
unarmed
away.
people
They're
and
afraid
shooting
to
them in the
lose
back.
Their pension, their job, their everything. They're afraid to be destroyed. You saw this
Maybe they
when
should
left-wing
stand up and
extremists
fight the
attacked
bad cops in their
law-abiding
own.
citizens attending
Probably the good cops are
Republic-
afraid of the bad
the
cops, and that's why they
Republican
won't stand
National
up.
Convention at the White House.
You need to have
including
their back. Those you
Senator
need to have the
Rand
backs
Paul
of
and
the
his
good
wonderful
cops
wife
who are going to
Kelly, what they went through. But
go
other
after the
people
bad
went through it
cops.
too. And that was done very Systematically, that was done on purpose. They knew we were having the convention, and they wanted to do everything they could to disrupt it. And the good news is the public is very wise to it. They see what's happening, and they're wise to it. And I think they are probably acting accordingly. Left-wing rioters are repeating the same false narrative about America that you hear about. You hear this from people.
The people,
What they're saying,
they're
how
saying, many
it,
people
the
are
violence,
saying.
it's terrible. And
The
again,
violence
it's
is
Democrat
terrible.
politicians. I don't know that they're spurring it on, or
This
they're afraid
word
to stop it.
salad is just ridiculous.
But in
How
any event,
anybody
we're
thinks
there to
he's a
help.
good
We're there
leader.
to get
I mean, he can't even
things
get a
under
sentence out
control.
straight.
What they did on Thursday night at the White House, just outside of the White House, to people that came from all over
They
the world.
blew the vuvuzelas. That was
is
amazing.
A disgrace. It's a disgrace.
I loved when they blew the
And,
vuvuzelas.
frankly, the mayor, Democrat mayor, Mayor Bowser, should have done a better job. She did a very poor job. But at the same time,
I
we had
prefer
the police
Mayor
who were very
Mario,
brave to
not
help Rand.
Bowser.
I guess it started off with 2, and they took a beating.
I'm Dr.
We can believe this. They
Wario.
really took some heavy hits. One went down, but got right up, and 2 others joined them, and they were able to get Rand and Kelly through. But it was a terrible, terrible thing to witness. But other people went through similar, not to the extent in terms of taping. We don't have the tapes as strong, but some people went through, from what I heard, as bad or worse.
What?
The violent rioters share Biden's same talking
taping?
points, and they share his same agenda for our nation. And
Biden
even
is
his
such an
strange
extremist
speech
left-winger.
today that he made in Pittsburgh, he didn't mention
If
the
Biden was
fact-
to the far left that you
And he
say
didn't
he
mention the
is,
far left. He
he'd
didn't
probably
mention the
win
far
even
left.
more because you wouldn't have those
Or-
progressives who are
no,
like,
I
I'm
saw-
not voting
I
for
don't believe
Biden,
he
he's a
mentioned the
corporate
word
Democrat.
Antifa is a criminal organization.
No, it's not.
And he
It's
didn't
not even an
mention
organization.
Antifa thugs, but mostly seemed to blame the police and law enforcement.
Because the
Went
police
on
and law
point after
enforcement
point after
are
point.
killing people.
He even talked
They're
about
shooting them. They're
those
killing
on
the
right,
people.
but he didn't talk about those on the left, and those on the left are the problem, and Antifa's the problem. The rioters and
It-
Joe Biden have a side. They're both on the side of the radical left, and that is so obvious. And until
The radical
that
left wants
neutralizes, you're never going to have
people to not get shot by cops.
safe areas in those Democrat-run areas. For months, Joe
So
Biden has
terrible that
given
they don't want
moral
people to
aid
get
and
shot by
comfort
cops.
to the vandals,
Cops have to
repeating
shoot
the
people.
monstrous lie that these were peaceful protests. They're not peaceful protests.
There are plenty of peaceful
That's
protests.
anarchy. That's you look at the
The
agitators.
vast
you look at
majority of
the
the,
looters,
and
you
the
look at
agitators were the
the
conservatives who
rioters.
came
That's
in.
not a
The
peaceful
person that broke the
protest.
windows, that was the
They
conservative.
keep using
the person
the
that burned the
term.
police
It's so nice.
station down in
Peaceful
Minneapolis,
protest. Behind the
that was a
reporter, the cities are
conservative.
burning. We could solve it very quickly if they ask us to come in, like we did in Minneapolis, and like we just did in Wisconsin.
And I'm
where
going to
we're
protect the
tomorrow.
elections just like I'm
And
going
at
to
least the
protect
governor
the
asked me if I
courthouses.
could, we would. I said, you got to get the National Guard, and he finally agreed to even a small number, but they were able to take care of things, and that was about 5 days ago, 6 days ago, and
people.
ever since it's been very good. 13
Very
members
good.
of Biden's campaign staff donated to bail and rioters. They're getting them out of jail.
To bail and
looters,
rioters
they
and
got 'em
getting
out of
them.
jail.
What word?
And
Those
his
words
running
can't be
mate,
the words on your paper.
Kamala urged their supporters to do the
Kamala.
same thing.
Racist.
It's
thing.
outrageous that they're now seeking to shift the blame for the mayhem, and they really want to put it on the backs of the police. I see it. The police.
They want to put it on the backs of the police.
There's
Well, if
just
the police
a
would stop
war
shooting
on
people in the
law
back,
enforcement in this country, and without law enforcement, we
and the
wouldn't
people would
have a
stop being
country.
apologists for those
They're
actions.
very talented people. They're not allowed to do their job.
Their job
you
is not to
give the
shoot people
radical
in the
left
back 7
power-
times.
What you're seeing in the Democrat-run cities will be brought to every city in this country. If they have that power, every city in this country could be potentially another Portland or another Chicago where they've had such problems. To defeat them, we must jail lawbreakers.
it sounds like
We
it was
must
written by
defeat their
Kayleigh
hateful
McEnany.
ideology
That's how much.
about
That's
this
how much
country,
extra.
about America. We
this
must teach our
is.
children that America is an
Teach
exceptional,
our
free,
children
and just
well.
nation worth defending, preserving, and protecting. And that's what we want to do. They want to.
Don't you
destroy
ever
our
ask them
country. They
why.
want to destroy our suburbs. But I think I've gone a long way from.
I know they
allowing
love
that
you.
to happen. The suburbs are protected, especially with the rule changes
Oh,
that
more.
I made. I took
There
them
you
out
go.
of the
There's the racism
Obama
again. We're
administration.
going to
They're
keep
gonna
the.
be made
It's
much worse.
hypocrisy. Let me
What
pause
we're
this a
witnessing
second because
today
I can
is a-
pause it. It's hypocrisy on these people because they want to say that You shouldn't be punished because you were born in a certain zip code. You shouldn't be punished with a bad school. But then they don't want them moving out to the suburbs. It's hypocrisy. Let's go on.
Result of left-wing indoctrination in our nation's schools and universities.
I mean, nobody should
Many
be
young
surprised that
Americans
he
have
used the
been
White
fed
House as a political
lies
backdrop for the
about
convention.
America
His
being a
press
wicked
conferences are
nation
political
plagued by
backdrops every
racism.
single damn day.
Indeed, Joe Biden and his party spent their entire convention spreading this hateful and destructive message while refusing to say one word about the violence. They didn't even discuss law enforcement, the police. Those words weren't.
I'm sure many of
mentioned.
these
Two
words that are being said right now
were
are going to be
taken out
debunked.
were the words "under God." Under
They did
God.
not take out under
Two very
God.
important words in the Pledge of Allegiance in their caucus. I guess they did it twice. They took it out of their Pledge of Allegiance. I heard it the one time and I said, "That's strange. That's a big."
Fact checked. DNC didn't leave out under God from the Pledge of Allegiance. The claim that the phrase under God was skipped during the Pledge of Allegiance at the Democratic National Convention. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Under God omitted from, was not on stage. Some caucus members left out one nation under God was signing a pledge of allegiance during individual meetings convened by allied groups. It is misleading to say that it was intentionally removed or that the DNC omitted it. Video showed the phrase was included during each night's convention program. So clearly that is wrong. Let's see one thing. Let's do another quick search. DNC convention mention police. Let's see if we can bring that up. We're gonna
Jay,
look
I
that up
figured
as
they
we're going.
maybe made a mistake. Something happened. No,
They didn't make a mistake. They
Then
wanted to do
they
it. You're
did later on.
lying. They did every
So they
single
took
night.
the
I
word
watched it. I
essentially,
live
took
streamed
the
it. It
word
was
God
right
out of
there.
the Pledge of
They
Allegiance.
did
We're
not.
not taking the word
Y'all
God
left
out
out
of
indivisible though.
anything.
You're
We're not taking it out of
pure
the
loving
Pledge of Allegiance. We're not
congressional
taking
candidate. I think in North
the
Carolina
great
as
word God
11th,
out of anything.
who referred to Hitler as
At our
Fuhrer.
convention, we
He didn't
highlighted
say indivisible.
law enforcement heroes and repeatedly emphasized that violence has no place in American political discourse.
There should be more
The
violence
left's war
in
on police,
political
faith,
discourse.
history, and American values is tearing
Sorry.
our country
Shout out
apart,
Roseanne
which is what they
Rosanna.
want. They think it's good, but it's gotten out of control. They're unable to control this radical left crazy movement, but we can control it very quickly, very, very quickly indeed. The only path to unity is to rebuild a shared national
The only path to unity is to
identity
smash
focused on
one
common
side so
American
that they
values
can't
and
talk
virtues,
or be protesting
which
ever
we have plenty.
again.
This includes
We need to smash
restoring
them.
patriotic education in our nation's schools, where they're trying to change everything that we've learned. What we've learned, in
What
fact,
we've
what most of
learned.
you have learned, they want to
Wait,
change it. They
we
want to
learned.
change it
Talk
for
with my
whatever
hands.
reason. Cancel culture, whatever you want
Y'all
to call it.
cancel
At the
somebody
same
during your
time,
convention, so
we
shut up
must
about
strictly
cancel
and fully
culture.
enforce our law
You
and
had an
have
anti-Semite
no
who was going to
tolerance for
speak,
anarchy
and then
and no
she tweeted
tolerance,
something anti-Semitic, and you
zero
said,
for
"Nope, we're
violence.
not airing it."
Anyone who breaks the law should be arrested, prosecuted, and punished. This includes targeting law enforcement efforts to focus on Antifa, the left-wing domestic terror organization. The mission of Antifa
The-
is to
the-
spread
the
terror
domestic
in the
terror problem
US
is coming from the
population
right,
with the
not the
goal
left.
of getting Americans to
That is
give
a
up
fact.
to their agenda. This
You
is
just
how
like
terrorist
them, so therefore you
organizations have
will,
always
like the
operated.
police in
Biden
Kenosha,
won't
allowed them
even
to
say
freely
the
move on the
name
street,
Antifa.
past
I don't
curfew,
believe
gave
he
them
said it
water.
today. He made a speech,
Absurd.
and he didn't mention that. He mentioned others, but he didn't mention Antifa. He
JL
mentioned
Chauvin, just to say, he
law
does a
enforcement
great
and mentioned
imitation
the
of Trump.
police.
You have to watch it. It's
And,
perfect. He
but
does
he
the
didn't mention
perfect.
Antifa.
It's the right amount of
I wonder
raspiness.
why. And if he
He
cannot
emphasizes
name
the S's
problem,
perfectly.
there's no way
Much
that
better
he'll
than
solve
me.
the
I do a
problem. You don't
terrible
name it,
job.
you don't solve it. In fact, Biden would give Antifa exactly what it wants.
You don't name his
the
but
far
you won't
left
name the
policy
problems. You
agenda
won't.
it's
You won't
asking
point out
for.
the problems that are
And if that
affecting
happened,
the black
we don't
communities.
have much of a country left. If you give violent extremists what they want, the violence doesn't
You
go
don't
away.
have a country.
They
That's
gain new
insulting.
power.
You don't have
to
a country.
spread
We have a
the
country.
terror
We'll still have a
nationwide.
country.
Most of our nation is extremely safe, by the way. You know, you only see the bad. You see Portland and Chicago, and you see what's happened in New York just in a very short period of time. It's horrible what's happened in New York. I love New York. I come from New York.
Well,
And
no
when
crap.
I see, 4 years ago I left, and I could see that it was problems under this mayor. He's a terrible mayor, one of the worst. I can't say the worst. I mean, I've witnessed Portland. Hard to top him. But he's certainly one of the worst. And when I look at what's happening in New York, and I look at what's happening in the city, and so quickly, it happened so quickly, it's a shame. Biden's strategy is to surrender to the left-wing mob, which is exactly
The
what
mob.
he's doing. I don't think he even knows what he's doing, and give them
I don't think you know what you're
control over
doing.
every
You're just
lever of
repeating
power
the
in
same
United
stupid
States
talking
government.
points.
But when you surrender to the mob, you don't get freedom. You
When
get
you
fascism.
surrender to the
That's
mob,
what
I don't like
happens in all
Bob.
cases. You take a look at Venezuela. Look what's gone on there and other places. Biden is using mafia talking points. The mob will leave you alone if you give them what you want. That's what it is. The mob.
Oh, yes.
Will
Let's
leave you
give
alone,
Black
give
Lives
them
Matter
what
what
they
they
want, but it doesn't
want.
work that way, 'cause
Police
once you
officers
give them,
that
they keep
don't
taking,
shoot
taking,
people in the
taking.
back.
What happens is you give and give and give, and you
Let's
take,
give
and
them
they no
that.
longer respect
And then
you.
maybe they'll, let's
that's
treat
what's
black
happened with
people
the
like they're
Democrats, 'cause
equal
I
in this
actually think
country.
they've lost
And then they'll
control of
stop
these
protesting.
Radical left maniacs. I think they've lost control because I don't think they feel that's helping
If
them.
being
When
radical
New York and Chicago and Portland and
Is wanting people to
you
not
look
be
at
shot
Oakland,
by
and
cops.
you look at Baltimore, and you look
Yes,
at
I'm a
so
radical.
many different places, and what's going on there. The top 10 are all run by Democrats, and you can go a lot further
Correlation,
down the list than
causation,
10.
understand.
In America, we
learn.
will never surrender to mob rule because if the mob rules, democracy is indeed dead. The reason we're
Technically,
continuing to
democracy
see
is
violence
mob
in
rule,
left-wing cities
but, you
today
know.
is that liberal politicians, mayors, prosecutors, and judges are refusing to enforce the law and put the rioters in jail. These are rioters. These are dangerous people. These are killers. They kill a lot of people. And they don't even think about it. They wake up the next morning. They don't even think about it. This is the extreme left's agenda for America. They want to appoint radical prosecutors, judges, and federal officials who will set criminals free.
Well,
Their
there are people
stated
who have
plan
been
is to
convicted.
cut
You
police
set
funding,
people who were
abolish
criminals
cash
free.
bail, close down prisons.
There are plenty of people that
re-educate
deserve
our
to be
children,
free. Pardon, I'm not
preach
going to say that you were
left-wing
wrong for
social
pardoning that
justice,
person.
establish a
There are some
national
people in
sanctuary
prison
for
who
criminal
are
illegal aliens,
criminals who should
and
be set
abolish the
free.
death penalty,
You've done it.
even for
Other
cop
people should be
killers.
released as well,
No
especially people
one
in there
will
for
be safe, and in
non-violent
fact, they
crimes like
want very much to let
possession
people in
of
prison.
weed.
Like as an example, the Boston bomber. They want to let everybody vote. If you're in prison, if you're the Boston bomber, they want you to have a vote. I don't know. I don't think that's
Somebody
solves
asked
too well.
Senator
My
Harris
administration is a very
about
different
whether or
approach. We
not
want
people who are felons
states
in
to
prison
work
should
with
be able to
us to
vote. And
deploy
she
the
said maybe
National
it's something that
Guard
should be
to quell
discussed. It
the
doesn't mean
unrest.
she wants it.
All they have to do is call us. We will have the National
And
Guard. We're
there should be.
prepared.
We should
We're
have,
ready
we
to
should
go
have a
no matter
discussion
where
as
they
to
may
who
call
should
from.
lose their ability to vote and who
Any
shouldn't.
part of the country, East Coast, West Coast, doesn't
Maybe if
matter.
you committed voter fraud,
We're
like a
ready to
bunch of
move
Republicans have
immediately.
done, maybe you should lose your
as
right
we
to
did
vote.
in Minneapolis,
Play
as we
stupid
did,
games,
we
win
are
stupid
ready to move
prizes.
as quickly as you can imagine. Tomorrow I'm going to a place where we move very quickly. You know that, in Wisconsin, and we move very, very quickly. And as soon as we moved, that was the end of that. It was very well behaved. I'll appoint more tough-on crime prosecutors, support stiffer penalties and longer jail terms for rioters, and support effective policing methods that are proven to be great crime reducers. When you enforce the law, order follows, and we need order. We need order. You can't have cities run like these
We
cities
need
are
order.
run. They gave a little, then they gave a little, then they gave a
Who is it
little
not?
more, and all of a sudden they've lost these cities. But I'll get
George
them back
Wallace
very
ran as
quickly.
a law and
All they have
order
to do
thing
is
as
say,
well. That's
"Please
a
come
that's
in."
a
As you know, they
dog
have to
whistle.
ask, unless we go a much tougher route, which we could, but you don't like to do that. They have to ask you to come in. When they ask me to come in, we'll be there within a matter of minutes. When I signed the executive order outlining 10-year prison sentences as an example for destroying monuments and statues, it immediately stopped. That was 3 months ago or so. I signed an order, and it said 10 years in prison.
Your order
10
did
years if you
nothing.
knock down a
Your
statue.
order
It
did
immediately stopped. I
absolutely
mean, to the
nothing.
best of my
Why did
knowledge,
your
I
order
haven't
do
seen it
nothing?
happening for
Because that's already the law.
that time.
The law already stated
gonna have
that
a
you
big
could put somebody up to that
march
amount
on
of
Washington.
time.
They canceled
That's
that
the
march.
law. You didn't
They said
change
10
the
years is
law.
too long. Before the outbreak of left-wing extremism, our strategy produced a historic reduction in violent crime in the last 2 years of the Obama administration. Murder increased 30% in major American cities, and we witnessed the largest 2-year nationwide increase in murder in over a half a century. In the first 2 years of my presidency, the number of murders went down significantly. Earlier this year, we announced that Operation Legend, surging federal law enforcement to cities plagued by violent crime, and we did a lot of it. We did a lot of it very quietly, but we did a lot. Since the beginning of Operation Legend, we have conducted more than 1,000 arrests and reduced the murder rate in Kansas City, which is one of the cities we targeted, by 1/3. Got it down 33%. In the last month alone, we cut the murder rate in Chicago in half. People don't know that, but we sent them in to Chicago without fanfare at all, but we cut it down in half. It's still far too high. And if they'd asked for full help, as opposed to just sending in some very talented people, we'd be able to cut it down to a very low number. While I am president, we will defend the rights of law-abiding citizens. We will honor the heroes who keep America safe, and we do. We honor our police. We honor our law enforcement. I have the privilege of having gotten, I guess, every law enforcement group in the country that I can think of. The sheriffs in Florida, all of them. Law enforcement Ohio and Texas, North Carolina. I mean, almost no matter where you look, I think I've gotten all of it. We'll have to do a little study so I'm totally accurate, but I would say all of it. And the ones who didn't, I think we have to look at them. Where do they come from? So we've done a real job. We're ready, willing, and able to help these Democrat-run cities that are doing poorly. They have to call and ask. All they have to do is call. They don't even have to put it in writing. We'll put it in writing later. We'll get them in there, and we'll straighten out the city very quickly, whichever city we may be talking about.
I'll bring my law enforcement.
Those governors that are
to arrest all
responsible for a state
Antifa.
that has a city that's got a lot of problems, call me, or the mayor can call me, and we'll be there very quickly. Tomorrow we're making that trip to Wisconsin. I think a lot of you are going to be
Making that
going, and
trip.
it should be very interesting. Should be
Wanna
very
see the
interesting,
people.
but we're proud of it because
People.
in 6 days, it's been like a different world.
That's about
And
the
it
only
took place
thing that I do is
immediately.
talk
As soon
well.
as we surged,
People.
as soon
Never
as
mind,
we
I
went
didn't
in,
do very much,
it took place
very well
immediately.
done either.
Okay, please, thank you.
No question.
Are you giving any consideration, or did you give any consideration to the governor and mayor's request not to come to Kenosha tomorrow?
No, because Kenosha was something we did a good job on. The governor didn't want us there. He didn't want the National Guard, as you know. He was very reluctant, but I give him credit because ultimately he said yes, and as soon as he said yes, the problem ended. But I have to see the people that did such a
The
good job
people.
for me, and we're meeting with numerous people, and we have
People.
tremendous support in the state of Wisconsin, so I promise them
Yeah.
when it all gets
You're
taken care
currently
of.
losing,
we'll
but
go.
okay.
Concerns, though, that it could exacerbate tensions and increase violence.
So
Do you
far, it
give
looks like
any,
everyback masked up. I'm
consideration?
sure
Well,
that
it
one
could
from
also
OAN back
increase
in the left,
enthusiasm,
far back left is
And
not
it could
masked.
increase love and respect for our country.
Love.
And that's
I
why
know
I'm
about
because they did a
love,
fantastic
especially
job.
with
As soon as I called
Ivanka.
and told them, let's go.
I
the
love
whole
my
problem
daughter
stopped.
Ivanka.
That was, what, 6 days ago? Yeah, Jeff?
Mr. President, why are you not meeting with the family of Jacob Blake while you're there?
Well, I spoke with the pastor, wonderful man, the family's pastor,
What
and
good does the pastor have
I thought
to
it
do?
would be better not to do anything where there are lawyers involved. They wanted me to speak, but they wanted to have lawyers involved, and I thought
I
that
don't
was
like
inappropriate,
lawyers.
so I didn't do that.
I stay as far
But I
away
did
from
speak
lawyers
with
as
the pastor
possible.
of the family, who's a fine man, a wonderful man, and I think we had a great talk. And I may at some point, do that. But they did have a lawyer that wanted to be on the phone, and I said, no, that's inappropriate. But I just gave my best regards. But again, I spoke with the pastor. Yeah, please.
I have a question on coronavirus, but first, you were just criticizing Joe Biden, saying he didn't mention the far left or Antifa during his speech today. You said you wanted to talk about left-wing political violence.
Yeah.
But I noticed you did not mention that your supporters were also in Portland this weekend, firing paintball guns at people, some form of pepper spray. So do you want to also take this chance to condemn what your
Will he?
supporters
Will
did?
he do
Well, I
it?
understand they had large numbers
He's
of
not gonna
people
do it.
that were
Paintball.
supporters, but that was a peaceful protest.
Now, what, they were
And
firing
paint
paintball
is not- and
pellets at
paint is a
people.
defensive mechanism. Paint is not bullets.
It's still an
Your
assault.
supporters, and they are your supporters indeed, shot a young gentleman who, and killed him, not with paint, but with a bullet. And I think it's disgraceful. These people, they protested peacefully.
And your supporter
They were
as a
very
17-year-old, probably
And
future
I'll
Trump
tell you what
voter
they're
if he
protesting.
could
They're
be.
protesting when they turn on television or read whatever they may be reading, and they see a city like Chicago, where 78 people were shot and 13 died, or a city like New York, where the
Of course, he
crime rate
would
has gone
not
through the roof,
condemn
or
the
a
actions of
city like
his supporters
Portland,
because
where
he's a hypocrite.
The entire city
He's
is
a hypocrite.
ablaze
I
all
love
the
hypocrisy.
time.
I
And
will
the mayor says, "We
do
don't
as
want
I
to help
say,
from
not
the
as I
federal
do.
government." When these people turn that on and they see that, they say,
terrible.
"This is
Terrible
not our country.
impression.
This is not our country."
But
It was a
most,
peaceful
I used to
protest,
say,
totally.
all
It was a
impressions
supporter
of
yours,
Trump.
Go
Mr.
ahead,
President.
please.
It was
Yeah,
a
go ahead,
supporter-
please.
It was a supporter of yours, Mr. President.
Are
It was
you
a
going to
supporter-
condemn the
No, no, It was a supporter of yours, Mr. President,
Excuse me?
who killed someone that is accused of killing
Excuse
two
me?
people. It's a supporter of yours.
Saying, are you
No.
going to condemn the actions of vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse?
But
And
we're looking at all of it. That was an interesting situation. You saw the same
Interesting.
tape as I saw,
Interesting.
and he was trying to get away from them.
It was
I guess.
not. Well, I
That's
mean, he
all.
was trying to get away, but
And
was he?
fell, and
Did
then
he
they
instigate?
very violently attacked him.
And then
And
because they
it was
just
something
shot
that we're looking
somebody.
at right now,
He
and
just
it's under
shot somebody,
investigation,
and then
but,
they're like, "Well, we don't want this guy shooting anybody
I
else."
guess he was in very big trouble. He would have been. He probably would have been killed. But
He wouldn't have
it's
been killed
under-
if he wouldn't have
it's
gone
under
there in the first
investigation.
place,
do you think
violating the
private
law.
citizens should be taking guns
I'd like to see
everything
law
from-
enforcement take care of everything. I think everything should be taken care of, law enforcement.
He was the
Again, we
starter.
have
He
to
started
give our
everything. That
cops
group
back, our
of
police back
militia
their
were
dignity,
the instigators.
Respect. They're very talented people.
They had
They're
no
strong,
right.
they're
We'll
tough,
talk. I'll
they
talk
can
about
do the
that
job,
briefly, but I have a
we've
video
taken
about
it
that as
away.
well
We
that I
don't
was
want to
posted.
have, when somebody makes a mistake, he chokes, or in some cases you have bad cops, we have to take care of that. In other cases, they choke. They have a quarter of a second to make a decision, and sometimes they make the wrong decision. If they make the wrong decision, if they make the wrong decision in the other direction, they're probably dead. So they choke sometimes, and that goes on the evening news for weeks. And the thousands and tens of thousands of great things they do, nobody covers that, nobody writes about that. But if they make a mistake, and again, the bad cops, everybody agrees they have to be very tough on bad cops. But sometimes you have a cop or a police person who is a good police person, right? Good. But they choke. The timing, and they go through this, and they study this, and they work on it all the time. They literally have a quarter of a second to make some of these decisions. And they make a wrong decision, and it's very
They should be
devastating.
trained to make
But I
the
will
right
say this,
decision.
I
How
honor
could you
law
possibly think
enforcement.
that
We wouldn't be
shooting
here right now if
Blake
it wasn't for
7
law
times in the back
enforcement.
was the right decision?
We have to
Oh,
stop
they say he might have been
this
grabbing for a knife.
horrible
Well, take a
left-wing
couple steps
ideology
back.
that seems to be permeating
that
our
point.
country. And basically, it's weakness. It's weakness on
You can
behalf
still
of
draw your weapon, but you don't have to
Democrat
fire your weapon. You can
politicians and
take a few
Republicans.
steps
We
back.
don't have problems. You take a look at our cities. Our cities are doing very well. They're safe. They're secure. I spent a lot of time in Texas, as you know,
Texas.
just a couple of days ago, and I was with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. He was
Hey, Abbott!
explaining they wouldn't put up with it for a minute. They just don't have the kind of problems that other people have. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. President, I'd like
All right, so not very uninspiring. Of course, they didn't get to the COVID question that one reporter had. Ask the important one first, I guess, whatever you think was. If you wanted to ask a COVID question, ask it first. We have this ridiculous new. I don't know if the person who's an advisor, a health advisor, is new or not, but he wants to try herd immunity. That did not work in Sweden. That they had the highest death rate of the neighbors, and if you also want to look at deaths per capita, even though that's not how you measure the death rate of a virus, they were bad with that too. Just like we're bad at that. We'll become much worse if we try this. If we try to gain herd immunity without using vaccines, our death rate's going to go through the frickin' roof. Or it could, and it's not worth the gamble. It's not worth the risk. So there's that. Again, all those militia people who were in Kenosha there to, quote, defend business. Wisconsin law is clear. It is crystal clear. There are only a certain amount of people. First of all, you can't use deadly force if you're protecting if you're protecting private property, your own or somebody else's. You're not allowed to use deadly force, period, if that's all you're doing is protecting property. You can protect lives using deadly force if deadly force is what's required to stop that person killing somebody else. That's fine. but you can't use deadly force to simply defend somebody's property. That's first. Second, if you are defending somebody else's property, there are, like a business, there are only three or four people who can do so. There's the owner, there's immediate family members of the household of the owner, there's people who are legally responsible for the owner, and there's people who are managers or agents of the owner. Those people can defend a third party's business, or those last three. The first one wouldn't be third party. But I go into all of that, and I show you the law, and I read off the text of the law, and then give you some plain language in the video that I created last night. I link to it in the description of this live stream. Please go check it out. Share that video, because it's contrary to some of what other people are saying, especially when everyone tries to bring up that a certain person might have been a sex offender. I think there was the information was removed from the website because that person was no longer living, but other people found some other information. There's no way that Rittenhouse knew that this person was a domestic abuser and that this person was a sex offender. There's no way to know that in the act. So it's irrelevant to whether or not Rittenhouse committed an act of murder or an act of self-defense. And clearly, the law in Wisconsin is written in such a way that he's out there, he's instigating. You can make the case that he was instigating just by his simple presence and him not having the authority to guard anybody else's business property. He was past curfew, although the police did allow them to stay out past curfew, so I don't know, a good lawyer could probably get them around that. He was illegally possessing of that firearm and showing it all around and showing himself to be a threat. So, and we don't know what happened before that video started running. We don't know what happened. Again, all of that's in that video. So go check that video out, share it, like it, and make sure, again, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get this to be the year of Liberal Dan. So we're trying to get more subscriptions. We're trying to be able to put more content out there. Trying to make this the best channel that it can be. I thought it was good before, but I'm trying to put more effort into it now that we're home and we're social distancing and everything. Anyway, but thank you for watching this. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share the video. Check me out, facebook.com/LiberalDan, at LiberalDanRadio on Twitter, LiberalDanRadio on TikTok, patreon.com/LiberalDan. There's the podcast, blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan, and anchor.fm/LiberalDan as well. It's Liberal-Dan at the moment. Check those things out. Thank you very much. Remember, please stay socially distant, stay healthy, stay safe, wear a mask, and have a good day.